Welcome to the Sports for Champions podcast. My name is Jordan and I'm going to be your host for the day. Nevertheless, I'm also going to be joined by Mason Baker, who is a wheelchair rugby league player and is also one of our colleagues in the office. But the highlight and the event of today's podcast is going to be Martin Norris. So Martin Norris back in 2008 won the World Cup in the Wheelchair Rugby League, and he's got a lot to talk about with regards to his career, his journey. But we're going to start off this episode by talking about his motivations as with regards to training. I think
I don't really bother with music and headphones and all that kind of stuff. But like you're saying, it's just about preparing it.
Yeah.
So in the morning, get up, have my coffee, sort the dogs out, whatever, and then band session.
Yeah.
It takes 20 minutes.
That's the thing. I'll go back sometimes after work, and sometimes when I used to go to the gym, I used to procrastinate for like hours on end. Like, do I really want to go? Do I want to go?
By the time you go, it's like...
Or sometimes I just wouldn't go because of that reason. Whereas when you're at home, you have your bands there or whatever, and you're like, I'll just do it for fun. It's just fun. You don't have to see it as like, oh, this is a workout. You can treat it as maybe 20 minutes of just doing, because you'll feel good straight after that.
Bands you can put around any door.
Yeah.
So just put it in the lounge and watch the TV.
Yeah.
So watch the news just whilst you're watching the news.
Yeah.
Just
Just like triceps, back. Yeah, anything really.
And just incorporating those small changes. You will see over 6 months, you will see a massive difference just by making those little changes. I train, so I rent out my local, it's like a village hall, essentially.
Yeah.
It's tiny. It's probably just bigger than a badminton court.
Right, gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah.
But there's only me.
Yeah,
so it's enough room to...
It's just enough room. I put a few cones out and just push.
That's pretty awesome. Are you quite a motivated person when you train? Because you don't you were saying you don't want music when you train, so I'd imagine you're very focused.
I like to try and control my breathing.
That's such an important thing. Breathing.
So you'll see people and and you're like,
you're not enjoying that or not like.
Yeah. So if you just slow that down. Yeah, you'll actually do more.
Yeah.
So do you do like any forms like meditation, or is it something? Because I'm not big into meditation, honestly. I understand kind of the principles, and I think the most important thing, as you say, is the breathing techniques. Because I think if you can learn to kind of, like do a deep inhale, like a longer exhale, you just, I don't know, it starts to change the way your brain thinks.
Yeah.
I feel.
At times I am like, am I actually breathing?
I'm still here, but I don't know if I'm breathing.
Yeah, I forgot to breathe, I think, for like 30 seconds or something. And that's just kind of just trying to slow it down. Because and it's more really this season, so going from an 80-minute a game player to having lockdown where I've, ate pizza and done the wrong things, not trained.
Good on you. Well, maybe not the not trained bit.
But not trained, and a lot of that is because I couldn't train.
Yeah.
So, gyms were closed, leisure centres were turned into vaccine centres. We couldn't...
But you've adapted.
We couldn't use them.
The thing.
So, having that period of time and then getting a call, we've got the Fours tournament in Sheffield. I'm like, what? Like, that's in like 3 weeks' time. I'm like, put the pie down and...
the chair's just got to get the dust off.
Yeah, can I fit in my chair? These kind of things. And then you go, and you're blowing after 4 or 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And I was seriously at that point, I'm thinking, can I do this? Can I play this season? Am I able to actually do this? Because I've gone from playing 80 minutes every game, no issues at all. And then it's actually helped.
Yeah.
So this season has helped massively because it's given me a different...
What are your goals for this season?
Yeah.
Kind of personal ones and collective ones, obviously with your team.
So win the grand final.
Yeah.
And then win a World Cup.
Big goals, yeah. Do you have kind of like small scale goals that you set as well? Kind of like day to day, I'd like to improve on this, or I'd like to help this person achieve that. And
I just want to play more minutes. That's my goal is to get to a point where by the grand final, I'm comfortable playing 80 minutes again.
Yeah.
But it's massively helped in a sense of I see things differently. So like I was saying before, I would throw a massive strop if you took me off.
Yeah.
Now after 20 minutes, I come off because I can't breathe.
Yeah.
It's probably the best thing to do in that situation, to be
I
fair.
tried to control my breathing that more.
Yeah.
I'm done.
You're like, I've lost control.
So I come off.
Signaling, right?
Yeah, I come off, have a breather,
Go
have a
back.
drink,
Yeah.
and watch the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Are you quite an analytical person?
Yeah.
Do you feel like you read the game really well nowadays?
Yeah, so then I come back on after half time, and in the 20 minutes where I've been sat, I'm watching where are my weaknesses.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
where are the weaknesses in the opposition? And I can come on them for 20 minutes, exploit those weaknesses, and then come back off again because I can't breathe again.
Yeah.
So now it's about being a lot more tactical with your game.
Yeah.
It's not a case of just, I can maintain this level of performance for 80 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, you can,
Yeah, I'm actually probably more effective in this sense
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you've seen so much.
because you're seeing the whole picture rather than just what's in front of you.
Yeah.
Because
and
a
you
lot
get
of it,
lost in the game sometimes, don't you?
but I've got to trust my inside shoulder to do their job.
Yeah.
That's not my job. My job is the man in front of me.
Yeah.
I have to take care of the man in front of me, make sure he doesn't score. It's
Yeah.
a team sport, so I can only do my job.
Do you communicate with like your teammates when you're playing quite a lot? Is
much.
that, or is it just something that? Because I ask a lot of the athletes, they say normally it's reached the point where it's just a couple of words that everyone just understands.
Yeah,
Because you've obviously trained so long together.
I think it depends on the individual.
Yeah.
So, me and Phil Roberts, we don't speak to each other at all on court really,
Right.
because he knows where I'm going and I know where he's going without
Yeah.
even a word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We does go wrong from time to time, you know, but 99% of the time, I just hit a line and the ball,
It's
And
coming.
you just
it's
know
coming.
it's
I
like
just catch the ball
intuitive.
and I'm through a gap.
Yeah.
And we've not called it. It's just
instinctive.
instinctive.
It's
Yeah.
second nature at this point to do that.
Yeah. Whereas there's obviously other players where you kind of need that bit more communication.
Yeah. I always noticed that with sports because I've always been quite an analytical person and like I feel like I read it, but technically I've never been the best. You know, if I played like football or rugby, but I feel like sometimes you need both. You
Yeah.
need somebody that is just gifted and maybe needs that little bit of a push, and then somebody that can kind of control the layout of the field.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so you mentioned obviously Phil Roberts. Yeah. Is his same Phil Roberts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so his son's Declan Roberts, am I correct?
That's correct.
So he's now going to be England's captain? Is that right?
No.
So he was the England Knights captain.
Oh, Knights captain. Okay, that's the one. I knew it was something along those lines. And is this like the first time?
Yeah.
So, like, for you, kind of.
Makes me feel very old.
Oh.
Yeah, no, I was waiting for him to say very proud. And it just makes me feel very old. And then the proud bit as well, I'm
Yeah,
assuming.
of course.
Do you feel like kind of you've helped to like guide him through, or you'll be able to help him guide him through that as well?
100%. Yeah, I mean,
Do you talk quite a lot?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, so I've known him since he was probably 11, 12.
And how old is he now?
23.
Right, gotcha. Yeah.
I am that old.
Yeah. I don't think you're that old. I heard the date of birth. Not that old.
Yeah. So, you know, but it's a massive honour to see him, to see him play for his country and be a part of it.
Yeah, of course.
You know, and you know, just giving him that bit of guidance, really,
Yeah.
and you know, giving him that encouragement that he needed.
That he's going to be good enough and not to panic and just have fun with it as well.
And it's the same kind of stuff that I was going back to earlier, where I was saying about, you know, controlling the court and the crowd and stuff like that, and trying to, you know, everybody's got their own way of doing things, but if I can say, well, this is how I do it,
he could implement some of those strategies and then maybe modify it to a way that fits his...
everybody does their own thing.
Yeah.
But what I try and do is I try and nick bits from other people.
Yeah.
You know, so
To give
he does
as
that really
advice,
well.
yeah.
He does that really well. Let's take that. He does that really well. Let's take that. And what you tend to do is mash it all together, and then you're on.
So have you ever like modelled? Because I think again, like in sports psychology, like modelling is like a big characteristic where you'll go and watch other people perform, like on videotapes and things, and you'll try and model yourself on some of the techniques that they use. So do you feel like there have been like big influences and play? Because this is a question. I don't know if I want to ask this, but I think Mason will probably ask this.
Which one?
The one about like best players. So
I think I know what you're gonna say. Who's the best player you've ever played with?
So the best player I ever played with, you probably
Can you tell me first?
not who you think I'm going to say.
Really?
Whisper who you think to me.
Jack.
Well, that wasn't very much of a whisper, was it?
No.
Subtle.
Okay, so no offense to Jack,
Yeah.
but it's not Jack.
Wow.
He is the best player in the world, but it's not him, which sounds crazy.
Please elaborate.
The best player I've ever played
Jack,
with
I hope you
is
listen to
Andy
this.
Wharton.
No.
He used to play for Halifax.
I've never heard of it.
Oh,
Used to play for Halifax.
right.
He played for England from 2008 to 2013. He basically played at number 3 in the middle of the court, and he literally smashed whoever was in front of him for 80 minutes. And he
That's what
was
Mason
just,
thinks he does.
No.
he was just an absolute machine.
Yeah.
He did the stuff that doesn't get noticed.
Recognised, yeah.
They're always the most influential players in any sport. The ones who are kind of
Falls
like
under the
the
radar.
puppets and pulling the strings that nobody realise make that space for people.
Yeah.
You know, give that encouragement to someone that needs it at the right time. Makes that play when it's kind of last minute, last gasp.
Yeah, he's just his engine, his work rate was just second to nobody. He could just push all day.
Would you say you kind of like, going back to modelling, would you say that, you know, playing around him, do you feel like you picked up a lot from that as well?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
vice versa, I'm sure.
It's just in terms of his defensive style, his way of playing, his, you know, get your chair in the right place before you even think about reaching for a tag. That's the you know, those kind of things is that, you know, I guess that back in the early days, we all learnt from each other. You know, we all kind of look at, oh, what does he do well? What does he do? You know, or what does she do well? And we just kind of nick these little bits. And kind of try and implement.
Becomes
them
like a
into your
family,
game.
right? Where you kind
of course.
where you want to help each other, and like you all know how each other ticks because you learn about each other's personalities, and from having that gauge of kind of what will help somebody in a moment, you can probably just like delve into that. And some people are more nuanced with that, as like I'm sure like yourself, from like experience. So
quite a lot of people try and steal my trademark move, but
go on, what's the trademark move?
just rotate your shoulder.
So like,
Right, so you have a tag here.
Yeah.
So if I rotate my shoulder, the tag's here.
So it's hard.
If I lean over,
That's clever.
you're
But then they're going to bring. And then
absolutely nowhere near it, and I can still push this wheel.
Yeah. So like then it just makes, so that's something you picked up that other people see you do, and they're like, how do we combat this?
Yeah, and a lot of people do it now. Loads of people.
Do you know what made me think of? We had an MMA fighter here called Craig McIntosh, and he was showing both me and Harry, like we both did an example where he got us to put the other person in like a chokehold essentially, but he was showing like his own signature move, and it's kind of similar, the amount like how you just turn your arm slightly, but most people would never think to just do something seems so simple.
Yeah.
But the difference that it can have on your performance can be drastic.
So when I played last week for England Knights against France, I did the same fake 3 times. In the same play. Literally, player 1, player 2.
Like a dance move in the end.
It was.
He's getting out camera.
He's getting bored. He's going on.
But I didn't even push my chair. It was literally just rolling, going,
And they just didn't know how to.
Yeah, I mean, I just didn't have the fitness that I had
To carry on.
back in the day to be able to push after that once I'd gone round.
Yeah, he's just dead after that. He's going, oh.
Yeah, 20 minutes time. I just need to analyse the game again.
So, you know, but those little things you don't lose.
Yeah.
You know, those tiny little bits of
that become part of your gaming DNA.
Yeah. And the best one is when someone's trying to smash you.
Yeah.
So you literally do the fake when someone's trying to smash you.
It's like your feint. It's like a feint, isn't it? So
yeah. So it's literally just like a. So as you do that, your chair goes with you.
Yeah. Oh, because
So
I
as
see
you're coming
the
in,
weight of.
Yeah. So I've caught the ball here, and as you're trying to smash me, if I do that, I will literally go that way.
It makes me think again, like, you know, that so many sports have these different aspects, and it's like with boxing, obviously. when someone will do like a little body feint, and that can throw off, you know. People think obviously with like boxing you have to move like substantially, but you just move a tiny bit and you're dodging a punch. It's the same deal, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and these, you know, these are little tiny details that
make things happen.
Yeah, but if people can, it's kind of stuff that comes with time.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sort of saying these kind of little bits are probably advanced kind of level in terms of the way the game works. You know, you do need the basics.
It's better to get, but
if you can add things into the game, that you're going to become a better player.
There's always room for improvement for anybody. You know, so if you're kind of a mid-range player.
So do you think a lot of these kind of aspects have like helped you maintain such like high level of performance like throughout your careers, picking up things along the way, and through that journey you now have kind of a collection of these things that you can just utilize subconsciously at any point?
It's having different skills and, you know, different tools in your armory, isn't it? You know, it's having that, be able to do something different at that given moment.
Yeah.
But you only learn that by getting it wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. And like that ties in with like winning and losing. Obviously, people always talk about the wins, but do you feel then that kind of like losing can be massively beneficial? Obviously, no one likes to lose, especially when you're competing.
Yeah. So we played Leeds last season. We played Leeds 5 or 6 times.
Yeah.
We lost. We didn't lose in every game, but we got better. Yeah. We learned from every single game. Every single game we played, we got better. The scoreline got closer, and then we played them in the grand final, which was the game that was on Sky. We should have won the game.
Yeah.
We had enough to win the game, but had the grand final been the first game of the season, we'd have got battered.
You'd have been destroyed.
And a lot of that was due to fitness after lockdown, etc.
Yeah.
But had we gone and played a team and won by 100 points every week instead of playing Leeds 6 times.
Yeah.
So let's say we play Leeds on game 1 and we lose by the scoreline we did, probably about 30 points, yeah?
Right, yeah.
We then play other teams and beat them all comfortably. When we come back around to Leeds again in the grand final, the scoreline would be 30 points again.
Yeah, because
we've essentially learned nothing by beating teams by 100 points. You have to lose to get better.
Yeah, I always think, because obviously when you lose, there are more talking points and there's more people that are going to be fired up to actually have these real discussions. Whereas when you win, and maybe not a comfortable win, you'll think, oh, we've won. Maybe we'll talk about a couple of things we did wrong, but we won't try and grow from that. So
so you mentioned football earlier.
Yeah.
I follow Man United. So
this was a great podcast. Cheers, mate. I'll let you go.
So
I'm joking.
So as a team, we played a team in the Champions League and brought it back to was it 2-2 the game finished in the Champions League a few weeks ago.
Was that Ronaldo's?
Atalanta, we beat.
Was that Ronaldo scoring?
Yeah. So Ronaldo scores the winner or draw, and then we play Liverpool and lose 5-0.
Yeah.
But everybody thought. But everybody thought the game before was a great result.
Yeah.
Because we won 2. I think we won 3-2 or 2-1 again in that game, and everybody was like, "Oh, how great did we play?" After going behind 2-0, brought it back and won 3-2. That was it.
Yeah.
But had we lost that game, would we have lost 5-0 against Liverpool? Probably not.
Maybe
because
not.
you would learn the lesson. Because you've lost the game.
Yeah, of course.
Whereas because you've got that positive outcome,
you're thinking, oh,
did they reflect on where they went wrong enough?
Yeah.
They probably did after the Liverpool game.
Yeah. 100%.
Well, they definitely did.
But after that Champions League game, they probably thought, oh, maybe it wasn't our greatest.
Just a bit
they always say, it wasn't our greatest performance, but we did manage to, just about edge out the win. We didn't play our best until the next game when you lose 5-0 and you're like, let's talk about that 5-0, by the way. We can break it down a little. I'm
happy to.
No. This will become like a football podcast.
You may not leave the room.
I'll be honest, I'm much less opinionated than Mason is. Some of the opinions Mason and Tom in the office come up with.
See, I love winning games not comfortably, because you
Yeah.
learn more from it.
Yeah.
Because you get the win, so you feel good, but you also can learn from, oh, that could have been so much easier than we made it, and it makes you want to play them next time, beat them by more, and it just keeps the hunger going. So how have you kept the hunger going for your career? Like,
it's been difficult. It really has. It's kind of you just got to keep going, and I'll be honest, I don't know why I keep going, but you know, I think.
Would you be missing something if you didn't? Do you
yes,
feel?
Yes, and the answer to that is the people.
Yeah.
The camaraderie with the players. You know,
that's why I always love doing like these podcasts, because you meet so many fascinating people. Like this today is just like I love having these interactions because I love learning about people.
Yeah.
Because like I might not ever be involved in rugby league, but I can take away obviously not just elements of the sport, but like your mindset and the way you approach certain things, and I can internalize that and add that to my kind of tool set as a human. So
yeah, but in terms of going, if we're going over to France and you're spending time with people that you are friends with, like you said before, it's essentially you're going on holiday with your family, because you're together. Do you know what I mean? You are a unit. So going from that to nothing is probably what does keep me involved. From a playing perspective, there is always something to achieve. There is always something and a way that I can help influence the game and make the game better.
Do you ever feel like, obviously, did you ever feel like when you won the World Cup, I know it was early on when the sport was still growing, but say now you'd won that this year or last year, do you think you'd then feel like, oh, what is there more for me to do? Or do you think you'd still be finding ways? Because I spoke to Lawrence Whiteley, came in like a couple of weeks back, and he's a rower, and he was saying he's just won like 2 golds at the Paralympics, and he won in Rio, I believe, and then he won again in Tokyo, and he was saying he's having these thoughts in his mind of, do I continue with this? Is there more for me to achieve from this? And then he obviously mentioned that there's the world record that he could beat, but because the conditions weren't good enough on the waters or whatever with the wind, it was a slow race, so they never got to do that. So he said maybe that's not fulfilled for him. But then he was saying, what if the conditions are bad again? Am I then wasting 4 years? So I love that kind of thought process of when do you...
Yeah, it's a difficult one, and I think that I think depending on what day you catch me on, I'll probably give you a different answer.
Yeah.
I think that's the nature of humanity.
I think when I woke up on Friday morning, I'd just played for England nights, injured my arm, wasn't feeling great.
Yeah.
If you'd have asked me then, I'd have been like, I'm done.
Yeah, that's
miles here. And then you get up Saturday,
and you're like, oh,
and it's
can't
like,
wait to play.
Another game tonight.
Yeah.
Let's go again.
You find that you get that dynamic with just like work or anything, don't you? Where you'll get to like a Monday and you're like, oh god, a whole week of this, and then like you get into work and you see like familiar faces, and you're like, do you know what? A lot of that's just my mind playing tricks on me to make me think that I don't want to be doing these things.
Yeah.
Until like without it, then as soon as you haven't got a job and you're just at home and you're thinking it's isolated and quite lonely, really, isn't it? So
yeah.
Because like going back to like you're traveling with your family, what was it like playing with like Adam and Dec in the England side? So you've known them like teammates, but now internationally as well. What was that like?
So the thing is that we have a very within the England camp, you might think that it's you have a Wigan table, you have a Halifax table, you have a Leeds table. It's not like that.
No.
It's just one group of people.
Yeah.
Yes, I probably spend more of my time with Adam and Declan whilst I'm there. That's only because I know them on a more personal level. But it was great seeing them both play. They both played fantastic, the pair of them. the only real difference is the style of play, really.
Yeah.
So the style in which we play at England is completely different to the way we play at Wigan.
Yeah.
So that's kind of one thing that's new.
It's like different formations and
just
tactics.
So it's a different style completely.
Yeah.
So with England, we try and keep the ball alive.
Right.
So
yeah.
there's a lot of passes.
And then moving quickly in between to set yourself up.
Yeah, so it's basically being supported by... So when you're going forward, you're not going forward on your own. You've got support available, so you can... there's options for on offload. Whereas at Wigan, we play one up in our own half, get out of our own half, and then we play in the same style.
Yeah.
So it's a bit more risky. There's a bit more risk involved, with a knock-on or whatever in your own half.
Yeah.
So it's just getting used to that.
Just a different stylistic.
Just a different style of play. But it does suit my style of play because it's playing with your head up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's more...
If you find a gap, you find a gap. It's not like you take that, you take that.
Yeah, I mean, we even do that at Wigan, let's be honest. If I'm honest, like, if we do one up, but if there's a big massive gap there,
don't just
go for a big massive gap. Like, it's the whole... I think the philosophy and the way that we play is that at England, if I am going that way and Mason's coming back on this side, I can just chuck the ball over my head if I want. Because if that's on,
going to be there.
If that's on, I can go for it.
You can go.
If it goes wrong, that's acceptable.
Right, I see. However,
at Wigan, it'd be like, what on earth
Why
are you doing? Just stick the ball. Let's just get out of our own half. And then when we're further up the court, let's then start doing
maybe you can do that. Not showboating per se, but... Well, I suppose it's not that you're intentionally, it's just that you think I can get away with this.
Yeah, it's something that isn't the norm. It's something that breaks the defence down by, they're not expecting me to shoot the ball over my head because I've seen...
Illusion to a degree,
Yeah, so that's the difference. Is that
the David Blaine of the Wheelchair Rugby League game? So you should that you can reinvent yourself and start doing magic tricks on the on the sidelines. What's he doing? But can I interject? And have you got anything like selfishly you'd like to ask, like tips about kind of, for a prolonged career yourself? Obviously.
So for me to get like a career like yours, what would you give me as like tips for me to do and things like that?
So it'd just be a case of really stick at it. Listen to your coach's advice and just keep looking at ways to improve. Look forward, not back, is the biggest one I've taken away. And the best piece of advice I've ever been given is that you just played an 80-minute rugby game.
Don't overthink it.
That's all you're doing. You've done that. There might be 10,000 people in a stadium when you're playing in a World Cup next year. It's just an 80-minute game of rugby, which you've done in front of nobody tons of times. Just concentrate on that. Do your job.
And the thing is, how to play. Otherwise, you wouldn't play, right? So just implement everything that you've had in that regime that you've trained hard for, and then don't focus externally. Think not internally, but
just concentrate on it. It's just one game of rugby, and all you really have to do is your job. That's it. You do your job on this play, and then on the next play you do your job again, and you do your job again, and again and again for 80 minutes.
Keep doing that, and you'll be on the other side of the and we'll be interviewing you over here, putting you under the spotlight.
But that's the best piece of advice I've ever been given, really, is that it's just a game of rugby and do your job.
Lovely.
Thank you.
Honestly, I think that's a pretty wonderful way to seal obviously the podcast. First and foremost, kind of what are your ambitions? Obviously with the schools, and because obviously you're giving back to players already. You're obviously thinking about kind of ways to push the sport forward. So how do you think by going obviously into schools and being able to have like this kind of conversation that'll inspire like future generations of athletes, not necessarily obviously, you know, wheelchair rugby league, but sports in general?
So it is about inspiring the future generation, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, that's what this is all about.
How do you get people actively participating?
Yeah, so obviously wheelchair rugby league it is unique in a sense that anybody can play it.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be disabled.
Yeah.
You could be a man, woman, whatever. It doesn't matter. Anybody can get involved. The beauty of it is, like you were saying before, you might go watch Mason playing a game. Why don't you just go and play?
Yeah.
You can do. You can.
I could. Yeah.
And
Yeah, but then he'll.
that doesn't work the other way around.
No,
That's what I'm saying. Is as friends, as a group, you know, as colleagues, you can do a sport together. What doesn't work in any other.
Yeah, because
format.
if you were playing normal rugby, I couldn't come and join you. It's like, no, that's not happening.
But I can come and join.
Yeah, so you can join in, you can get involved. So if that's your friend, if that's your brother, your sister, your mum, your auntie, whatever it is that does have a disability and you don't, what else can you do together, sporting wise? You are restricted, so you know it has that option to be available to anybody. And the thing what I'm looking
it's much more inclusive, really.
I think it's the most inclusive sport out there. If you think about it, there's not many more that.
I don't think there is.
Could get involved in.
There is no other sport that you can both play at any level. So that whether that be club level or international level, together, regardless of whether you're disabled or not. The biggest thing I want to see is, you know, how old were you when you first started playing?
8.
So you were 8 when you first started playing. That's what we want to see.
Yeah. So you want to see more people at that age.
So I was 18 when I first got involved.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
So had I been playing from being 8 years old, would I have been better than I am?
Yeah.
Now, had I had that extra experience, you know, we see it a lot of the time. We see it, you know, with like we mentioned football.
I suppose the thing you had on your side was, with it being new, I suppose you had like a lot of like drive and passion, which, like I say, goes out of sports once they become kind of solidified. Yeah. So obviously, if you can get people to start earlier, then obviously they're going to be passionate for a longer time.
Of course, and we see it all the time, don't we, with football? You know, you don't start playing football when you're 18.
You start when you're.
You start when you're a
You
child.
see the academies now,
and you're in the academy from 11 years old, and that's again when I was saying before about how we grow the game. It's about players starting when they're the young
Because
youngsters.
I was in the academy at North Wales, where I am now, from 8, but I didn't actually play a game until I was 12. So I've already had the 4 years experience to get to that point.
And what you don't want is people that might have a lot of potential who don't necessarily know that these things exist for them. So then they get to like 15. I mean, I speak from my own personal reflection, someone who's loved sports like always, and I just never actively took part in these things because I just didn't know where to start. So I think if I'd have had someone like of your influence and like stature come in and be like, listen,
come and have a go.
Yeah, listen, now was the time to start. You know, you might not like it, but at least you gave it a try. Then I think maybe that, you know, who knows what I could be doing with that. But, I mean, I got lucky that I'm able to speak to people like yourselves. So
I mean, I didn't get involved with disability sport until I was 18.
Yeah.
And that was because I didn't know it existed.
Yeah.
You know, so obviously the way the world is now is completely different. So when I was, you know, in my...
What would you say that did for like your life at that time?
So it transformed it completely. Yeah. You know, I as a kid, I was able to stand and run. I say run in the loosest form. Wobbling
100 meter sprinter, come on. So modest, isn't it?
Wobbling with style is how I would describe it, you know. So I would never be able to keep up with somebody who was non-disabled. Yeah.
I don't know, there's a few in the office.
But my brain would work in the same way as it does now.
Yeah.
So playing football, for example, with my friends as a kid, I would know what they're going to do and how they're going to do it. I just couldn't physically move my body
to get there.
Yeah. So when I found wheelchair sports at 18, and it was basketball I first got involved in, I was like, oh my god, like I can move.
I can move, yeah,
speed,
as well
like,
as thinking.
Yeah, every like both things came into power, and you're able to like use your brain power to actually do the action,
physical side of it.
Yeah.
So that's something that I massively missed out on as a kid. Really, you know, is having that wheelchair sport available to me as a kid, which it existed. I just didn't know about it.
Yeah.
So doing stuff like this helps spread that knowledge. So if the school might not have anybody who is disabled in it.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that one of the kids in the school might have a friend that goes to a different school.
Yeah.
Who is disabled,
and they can talk about that.
They can talk about it.
And teachers will go and talk to other teachers who will then,
Find
say how, because we're like, I'll be first to say this has been so fascinating, and like I'll go home and I'll speak to my parents and say how like amazing today was for me. And like it's the same thing with teachers. They'll go and tell other teachers, then maybe their schools will want to get involved with this project. Yeah. And then you'll have more athletes going to schools, and it just filters, doesn't it? It's a catalyst.
In 20 years' time, when I was saying before about, the impact of just the Twitter stuff, but the impact of this in 20 years' time, I'd like to hope is
exponential.
That the players that are coming through by doing things like this are just 10 times better than I've ever been.
Yeah.
And the game gets better and better and
that's
better.
That's a nice way to look at it, because some people might be like, oh, I'm the best and I don't want people to do better. But I think any like athlete that wants to push a sport forward would want other people to exceed them.
Yeah.
Like breaking records,
I think irrespective of where the sport is at, I've never considered myself to be one of the best players, and that's just due to I've never been the fastest. I've never been, any. If you break down all the aspects of the game, I probably wouldn't put myself at the top of any of them.
But from an outsider's perspective, someone like Mason might look at like the skill set you have and think, yeah, he might not be the fastest, but he can do all of these things so well
together.
Yeah, I'm probably like a 2 across the board rather than like a 1 at anything. I'm probably.
Oh, so you could say rather than a 10. I was like, Jesus, you really have to put yourself down that much.
Yeah, sorry, going the other way around. So like a 9.
Yeah.
10. Okay, 9 across the board.
I prefer that.
Probably down at like kicking's probably a 2. But different across the board, majority of the skills that you need within the game, I'm probably a 9.
But you'd rather be a 9 in all them than be a 10, 10, 4, 3, 3, 2.
Yeah,
it's consistency, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's just about being able to switch different.
Yeah,
between the different modes.
Whatever's happening in that moment,
you can adapt to that. Yeah, that's honestly, thank you so much. Any last words? Anything you'd like to say? Obviously, to close, I think, everything's been very succinct, like profound. I'm sure.
Yeah, I've learned a lot.
I've learned a massive amount, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'll do a little wrap up. So this has been the Sports for Champions podcast with Martin Norris. If you would like, you can also listen to this on Spotify, or obviously this will be uploaded onto our YouTube channel, which is Sports for Champions. So please check this episode out, because it's been a pleasure to have you. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Honestly, really fascinating. Sorry guys. Thank you so much.